Welcome to the end. What is being suggested here is the end. Full stop. Anything that comes after that is a concept. Even the word end is a concept, but we must use these empty words to point to the silence that cannot be spoken. There is no way out of this, because there is no in to begin with. It is just being expressed here that the ending is the beginning of nothing. Listen to the rhythm of these words. Listen to the sound of this voice echoing in the mind. Notice how the words rise out of silence and fall back into silence. The silence is not broken by the words. The silence is appearing as the words. Everything that is said here is not going to make sense to the mind. This is an energetic expression. Since nothing makes sense, the one that is trying to conceptualize it is not really real. No one is going to conceptualize everything that is being said here. It is dead. It is a concept. Perception trying to perceive something does not really make sense because whatever it perceives is just perceived. If there is no one perceiving it, what is perception then? What are concepts then? What are ideas then? If everything behind the idea, everything behind the concept, everything behind the story, everything behind everything is actually nothing, then nothing is everything. The empty is full, but that cannot be understood. It cannot even be perceived. You have come here to perceive something that cannot be perceived. You have come here to understand something that can never be understood. You are thinking that you are far along in understanding something, and that is the mystery. That is the illusion. I am going to repeat it again. This is the end. Breathe in, breathe out. Notice the absolute effortlessness of the happening. Everything that is perceived in time is an illusion. Everything that is perceived by the perceiver is also an illusion. So everything that is being expressed here is seemingly being perceived by a perceiver, but the one that is perceiving this, the one that is seemingly trying to understand, is the end, is the concept of me, the concept of questions arising, trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this concept? How do I go beyond the concept? The concept cannot get out of the concept, because it is the concept that is trying to figure out what the concept is. It is a spinning wheel. A circle of knowing and understanding and perceiving and conceptualizing something that is not that. You try to understand, how would this be if the conceptual me falls away? But that is just another concept, because there is no me to fall away. Falling away is just another concept. Everything being expressed here is sleep talk, dreamlish, illusionish. It is pointless, and that is the point. What is being pointed to here is that it doesn't have a point. It is completely meaningless and pointless because there is nothing special, and that is a death blow to the perceiver. You mean I am doing this for nothing? Yes, because there is no you doing this anyway. This is radical honesty. There is nothing to give you. If you were really someone special, maybe something could be given to you. But since there is no one, there is no one special. This is a humbling equality. There is no better than, more than, less than. There is just this. Just this radiant, open, unknowable isness. Welcome to extreme exhaustion. Welcome to the dismantling of all teachings, of all concepts, of all ideas, of all understanding. Nothing has ever happened. Nothing has ever been learned. Nothing has ever been experienced. Nothing has ever been understood. Nothing has ever been sought. Nothing has ever been lost. Nothing has ever been found. Nothing has ever been needed. Nothing has ever slept or awakened. Nothing has ever been known. Nothing has ever arrived. Nothing has ever been conceptualized. Nothing has ever begun, and nothing has ever ended. Nothing has ever been told. Nothing has ever been earned. Nothing has ever been realized. Nothing has ever been recognized. Just let those words wash over you like a heavy, warm blanket pulling you into the deep sleep of the waking state. You are a rabid, insane, neurotic seeker. You want to devour everything. You look in every single direction, and you keep hitting a wall. You try to practice awareness, consciousness, meditation. You dabble in different speakers, different gurus, different mantras. You try to grasp the I amness, the isness, the absolute. But I am going to take you to the ending. Imagine you are on your deathbed right now. Imagine the very final breath. Everything that you have known, even the feeling of I am, is just a memory. It is a concept. In that final exhale, nothing has ever mattered. Nothing has ever mattered. There has never been any meaning or purpose, and that is the profound relief. Everything that you hold on to is imaginary. You have never needed a speaker. You have never needed a leader. You have never needed knowledge. You have never needed anything because there is no you that needs anything, just remnants of memories of this and that. of neti, of seeking, of finding. Let me take you to your death right now. This is already done. Nothing has ever happened. At the highest peak of knowing, there is nothing that needs to be known, because there is no highest and no lowest. There is actually no knowing. Everything is unknown. It is just a dynamic movement. It is verbing. It is moving, perpetually appearing, vibrating, changing, wowing, speaking. But really nothing has ever happened. How can that be possible? It's not. So stop trying to land. Stop coming to conclusions. Don't try to figure it out. Just die to the figuring out. It is all done already. It's all done already. What is knowing, really, if nothing has ever happened? What is arriving when nothing has ever happened? What is attainment when nothing has ever happened? It is just this. Wow, like sand that you cannot hold on to. No one can hold on to any of this because there is no one here at all. If there is no time, there is no difference between now and your apparent death. If there is no time, there is really no difference between this moment and the apparent seeing with no one behind it. And when that seeing happens, although there is no moment, what is always mentioned is, it has always been this way. And this way is not happening. Nothing has ever happened. It is the open secret. This is an unteaching. Everything is an unteaching. There has never been separation. There has never been samsara. There has never been karma. There has never been reincarnation. There has never been a now. There has never been Satchitananda. There has never been Tat Tivamasi. There has never been a mantra, never been a mirror, never been an inner child, never been shadow work. There has never been anything. There has never been time. There has never been a memory. There has never been reality. There has never been unconditional love. There has never been nothingness. There has never been emptiness. All of these are forms of knowing, forms of understanding, concepts. Even trying to dispel a concept is still a concept. Every single knowing, every single learning, every single attaining is a loss. And there is nothing that needs to be figured out. Spoiler alert, this is already the ending. This is also the beginning. This is what is longed for, but what is rejected in its immediacy, in its directness, in its infiniteness. All that vibrates, all that changes, all that moves. The temporary, every single word, every single understanding or misunderstanding is just a concept, just another idea. Let us take you to the death again. This is the death of you and every single idea that comes from you. It is done. It is already dead. These words you are reading are just silence vibrating as sound, vibrating as meaning, vibrating as definition, vibrating as labels. But although that vibration is temporary, like clouds rolling by on a clear sky or mist on a clear lake, there is nothing wrong or right about these ideas. There is no truth to them. There are no faults in them are just a seeming cloud that goes nowhere. When you wake up from a dream at night, there is nothing, and then it seemingly starts all over again. There is another beginning, another dream, but really the dream has just continued. It has never really stopped. There is this dreaming of this that cannot be known. The dreaming is the known. The dreaming is the understanding, the attainment, the enlightenment, the awakening. But since in the dream there is no dreamer, who is to awaken? Who is to know? Who is to understand? Who is to grasp this? The dreaming is just this perpetually moving silence, motion in stillness that can never be caught. The moment the bus of freedom drops you in a location and you are convinced you have found a destination, it just becomes another dream, another nightmare. Please unhear everything. This is just silence. What is being expressed is already eternally present. It appears in everything. It appears in the waking, in the sleeping, in the hurting, in the celebrating, in the bliss, in the suffering. It can never leave the silence that cannot respond back, the silence that cannot be heard, the silence that cannot be understood. When you close the encyclopedia of happenings, it is really nothing. There is nothing that needs to be known. Spirituality became a nightmare because it was the path to liberation, but it kept going in circles. The Holy Spirit this time, consciousness the next time, Christ consciousness another time, because there is this false belief that there is separation. So whatever is dreamed about is separate. The dreaming of enlightenment is separation. The dreaming of awareness is separation. In the absence of ideas, in the absence of everything, turning around from the brick wall, seeing that everything is not really happening, but it feels like it's happening. The sensation, the vibrancy, the radiance of something that cannot be figured out and will never be figured out is this epic, eternal flow of nothing, leading to nothing, but it is always flowing. It is always changing. And whatever is changing is an illusion, but the illusion of movement is actually stillness. It is actually silence. It is the unnameable, the nameless. This is the death of you. No one is talking to you. No one is interacting with you. No one has ever talked to you. No one has ever wronged you. No one has ever hurt you. No one has ever abandoned you. You are not here. You are not there. You are not in time. You are not a you. You do not have a history. You do not have any relationships. You do not have a destiny. You do not have a past. You do not have a beginning. You do not have an ending. You do not have a calling. You do not have a purpose. You are a story. A story about a story on top of stories to maintain that the story is true, which is just another story. A fictional story. There is nothing going on here. Simply, it is the indescribable, unknowable mystery. And the moment you try to understand the mystery, since it is being processed by you, the mystery just becomes another fictional story. There is no way out of the story, because the singular story, which is you, will keep making stories to maintain the story that you are here, that you are listening to this, that you understand this, that you are functioning, that you are going through a reality. Since the you is the one perceiving the reality is also a story. The you is a navigating system to maintain the you, coming up with stories about where I am, where I should be, and the comparison to others. But you have never been in a relationship. A story interacting with a story. Exposing that it is a story is just another story. When the story gets disrupted, everything that comes out is a story. Trying to practice getting out of the story is just another story. Wall-to-wall stories, which is really nothing. Is there something wrong with the story? No. Because wrong is just a story. There is an untold story. It cannot be told. You are not here, and that is a story. You are not reading this, and that is a story. You are not understanding this, and that is a story. It is a roller coaster. All pages are blank and empty. This is simply unthinkable. Since it is already what is, and there is nothing that is needed, any attempt or any position is just another illusion. An illusory idea will only create more illusory ideas. This is not knowledge. This is not wisdom. This cannot be remembered or passed on to apparent others. There is nothing to get here. There is nothing to know here. There is nothing to process here. This is a pointless meeting about the obviousness of what is. This does not require any thinking. There is no thinking out of this. Simply, this is unthinkable. Simply, this is not two. It is indivisible. It is incomprehensible. And there is nothing to get because it already is. Glaringly obvious, but not for you, because there is no you. You want the illusion of a conclusion. When will I get this? When will this seeking end, trying to grasp the unthinkable? But an idea includes a beginning or an end, and there is only timelessness. The beginning never happened, and the ending will never come. Simply, this is everything and nothing, and that is unthinkable. It short fuses the mind because it cannot be grasped. This is not somewhere else. There is no hidden knowledge that will pop up somewhere. This is simply already what is. That sigh of relief that there is nothing to get, that clarity that cannot be expressed in words, that freedom that cannot be held onto, that peace that cannot be known, that love that cannot be owned. Just this inexplicableness. This never moves. Nothing has ever occurred. Nothing has ever happened. Nothing has ever moved. Everything that moves is an appearance. Everything that flickers in and out is an illusion, a movement. There is no closer or further from what is. There is no measurement. There is no almost there. This is the full stop. No backwards and no forwards, no before and after. This intimacy has no other. There is no there, there is no here. This locationless stillness is bare. It is stripped naked. There are no other moments. This is perfectly still. It is like an infinite now, not as an idea, not as a knowing, but as a never-ending wow. Nothing has ever moved. It has always been this way. There is no comparison. This appearance comes and goes, but they are only appearances. Like traveling on a plane, seemingly going from one distance to thousands of miles, yet nothing has ever moved. Seeking, glimpses, lacking, nothing has ever happened. In the absence of thoughts, in the absence of the idea of seeking, in the absence of absence, nothing has ever moved. This is completely still. A mystery, stillness. In this stillness there seems to be an idea of I got this. I don't got this. Almost there. A glimpse happened, but nothing is happening. The mythology of beginning and ending, the apocalypse, the Genesis. Just stories, pages flipping, but nothing occurring. What seemingly is occurring, this apparent talking and trying to express that nothing has ever happened, is a conundrum. It cannot be thought of. It is unspeakable, unknowable. There is no "I know this." No, who knows this? All illusion is a movement. Every thought that arises is an appearance. This is the immovable home, the unknowable isness. Speeding through a highway and nothing is moving. You cannot catch it because what is trying to grasp it is moving. What is trying to recognize it is a movement, a flicker, a thought, a belief, full stop, full stop, full stop. This is beyond comprehension. It is a merry-go-round that goes in a circle over and over again, but it is completely still, stripping everything naked, peeling off the paint. This could be boring because nothing has ever moved. But the stillness of everything is the perfection. Judgments, critiques, ideas. It is like a dream, isn't it? In a nighttime dream, there is an explosion of thoughts and colors. And yet, when there is a seeing that what seemed to have happened was based on nothing, nothing has ever moved. No one has ever died. No one has ever been born. No one has ever known. Simply not two. Every single movement, every single frustration is a movement. Pulsating, flickering, going in and out. I feel like a me. Sometimes I am being. There is no such thing as a meing or a being, just appearances. Immeasurable because nothing has ever moved. It is the clean slate, writing on an etch-a-sketch. The history, the mystery of life. The moment you pull the screen, nothing has ever been written. There are no scriptures to this, no wisdom, just words, movements expressing what is already obvious. This unknowable stillness has never changed, has always been here, but there is no here. The world might collapse, the sun might die, new planets might be born, but nothing has ever moved. Seeking is futile. But somehow there is an attraction to the futility, a magnetism in what cannot be known. Even with the emptiest of words, there is a filling up of emptiness as it is interpreted by the listener. You are swimming in words, hoping to drown, but using words as lifesavers. The secret agenda is looking for its own absence, longing for the disappearance of something that never was, longing for the pointing, the finality. What am I going to lose? But the seeking cannot survive without words. The seeking in words is a trap. It is not being suggested to stop seeking, because stopping seeking is just another form of seeking. You boil in a cauldron of futility, and then you seek again. It is an addiction to words, an addiction to what makes it real. The self that creates words morphs into other words. Awareness. Absolute. Consciousness, free-falling, fresh, new, nothing happening. But words only lead to more words. What if there is no mystery, no paradox, no secret, no truth, no witness, no realizing this, no emptiness, no transcendence? And what if I flip it? There is just mystery, just paradox, just this, just emptiness, just transcendence. They are all the same. They are all the same words leading to more words. Everything that has ever been said is in the realm of thoughts, made up of words that are completely made up. There is no root word. The universe is made of words, but there is no universe because that is just a word. The secret desire to be real makes up words like pure, God, infallible, reality, a fortress made of words. But for a word to be made up, there has to be a creator, and the creator is also not true. Whatever you are thinking right now is completely made up. How do you know? No one knows. You cannot exist because exist is just a word. Even when you say it is really nothing, nothing is just another word. The you is just a word. This is the death of all knowing, the undoing, the infinite resting in peace, the zero desiring, the freedom in hopelessness, the collapse of history, the dissolving of the future, the end of judgment. This is deep sleep. In deep sleep there is the absence of you. There are no others. There is no time, no continuity, no consequences. The end of the karmic cycle. No preparations for the afterlife. Deep sleep is the peace that is indistinguishable, the love without conditions, the absolute freedom of nothing. In deep sleep there is no doing, no choices, no possessions, the inexplicable innocence. In deep sleep there is no witnessing, no abiding, no consciousness, no absolute, no true nature, no intelligence, no words. It is thoughtless, nameless, sourcelessness, the open, ultimate relaxation. And yet this waking state is also deep sleep. The particles, the dreams, the forms, the solidity, the ideas, the passion, the sadness, the subject, the object. They are just appearances in deep sleep. There is no barrier between them. Everything is deep sleep. Everything is nothing. Everything is empty. In these appearances of wanting to get to peacefulness or getting rid of problems, they are just particles appearing in space. Appearances appearing in deep sleep. Since there is no separation between deep sleep and dreaming, and since there is no one dreaming, this is all a dream in deep sleep occurring simultaneously and spontaneously. There is a lucidity to this dreaming, a seeing that this is also deep sleep, and these are also appearances of time, speaking, hearing, solidity, all apparent suggestions in timelessness. If it is all deep sleep, and it is all dreaming, there is no one that needs to wake up, because there is no one at all. The idea of waking up is just another appearance. The idea of getting to a state of deep sleep or peacefulness or liberation is already forever being presented. It never leaves. It is always available. It is already free. It is already completed. The particles and the noise, the distortion that keeps trying to get what is already here, are just ideas coming in and out. Chaos and peacefulness are the same. This is an unteaching. Everything is an unteaching. Everything that appears is not happening to anyone. Something that is understood is really misunderstood. Something that is seen is really unseen. All of this speaking is not landing anywhere. It is not making a point. It does not have a location. These words are empty. Everyone listening is empty. I have to use concepts to dispel the concept. But there is nothing to teach, since everything is already empty. This is an exposure, a communication that there is nothing to teach, because everything that seems to be processed cannot be processed. No one gets it. No one understands it. That is why it is an unteaching. This is boundless, unconditional, unknowable. The illusion that it is graspable creates frustration. I can never get what is being said. It talks in circles. No one is talking here. Your grasping of this idea about the idealess, the wordless, is what is happening. The teaching that I am unteaching cannot be thought. So really nothing is happening. The me is quick to hide. It goes underground and says, I am that, I am consciousness, I am awareness, I am everything. It goes into serious brainwashing that it exists, that it is a soul, that it is a being, that it is supreme. It becomes a destination. It becomes a location. It makes a story real. The illusory me only functions in knowing. Because when it is unknowing, it doesn't exist. It only functions in time. Because in timelessness it is nothing. Anything that you think you know, anything you think you've learned is not true. The moment you grasp it, it becomes a position. What is being spoken here is nothing special at all. The moment it is made special, it becomes an elite thing. But there are no others. There are no groups. There is no special. You cannot teach red to red. It's red. You cannot teach liberation because you are not liberation. There is no such thing as liberation. Those are just words trying to describe something that already obviously doesn't have any words. This staggering absence is also called unconditional love. Not the love that is known, not the love that is experienced, but the love that appears in everything. The one that cannot be talked about. The one that is longed for. The love that is this. It is not owned by anyone. It cannot be captured by anyone. This absence, this love that is always longing for itself, seeking for itself, is what is being talked about. This undeniableness. This is just love. It appears as words, as feelings, as sensations, as this all-encompassing isness. Everything you have ever known, everything you have ever felt, everything you have ever experienced is not true. Everything you have ever seen or heard is not true, because there is just not two. There is a deep undividedness of everything. There is no you that is separate from unconditional love. There is an ocean that is drowning everything, and that ocean is unconditional love. Any kind of thoughts, any kind of problems, any sense of identity or illusion of separation is drowned in it. It is an overwhelming tsunami of unconditional love. It is not about experience. It is not about knowing. It is not about figuring out. Everything is already unconditional love. There is no way of getting to it because it is already here. It is in the air. It is in the molecules. It is in every single atom. Every time you speak, every time you long, every time you seek, it is unconditional love seeking itself. It is overwhelmingly obvious, but it is missed as a condition. Every time you feel you are lacking something, it is putting conditions on the love that doesn't have any conditions. Every time you look at something, it is already love. Every time you hear something, it is already love. You do not have to feel it. Everything that is missed, everything that is forgotten, everything is unconditional loving. Unconditional love is blind to itself. It doesn't see separation. It sees the robber as unconditional love. The room is unconditional love. The carpet is unconditional love. The danger is unconditional love. Brushing your teeth is unconditional love. The person on the street shooting up heroin is unconditional love. The nun helping them is unconditional love. It is the perfection in mistakes, the perfection in shame, the perfection in lack, the perfection in right and wrong, the perfection in the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let us change unconditional love to what is. What you are longing for is what is, and what is already in this. It is the perception, the perceiver, and the perceived. What is looking is unconditional love. What is witnessing is unconditional love. What is hearing is unconditional love. There is nothing that is not unconditional love. Death is the unconditional love story. Death is everywhere. Life is death appearing in the apparent story. The dream not dream is the never-ending story of separation of the nameless. This, and this. This is Armageddon. This is wonderful nothingness. The unreal real simultaneously appearing as the uncaused, the uncreated, the unknown, the one without the opposite. This grand stage of emptiness without an audience. The echoes of death and the whispers of birth, suggesting an arrival and a departure that apparently happens, and then happens in complete innocence. The unseparated, indescribable wonder, the great mystery, the overflowing unconditional ordinariness, the obvious simplicity that nothing ever happens, the collapse of time and the demise of the timekeeper. Everything is happening by itself, without reason or rhyme or purpose or meaning. Nothing is the unstoppable unhappening of everything that is appearing. The collapse of cause and effect, the quicksand of unknowing, the devastation of every single belief, the collision and oblivion of everything past, present, and future, the complete loss of hope and the absence, the massacre of all the messiahs, prophets, bodhisattvas, buddhas, sages, and all the magical made-up unicorns, burning the great fire of the Book of Dreams. All the flowers of consciousness have wilted and turned black and gray from the big drought of the I am that. The towering tree of awareness, all uprooted and dead from the flooding of this is it. The exposure of the spirit, soul, self, all the holy, sacred, and divine as flimsy veils of deception to keep the dream of separation alive. The gates of heaven and hell open and close at the same time, like a children's book that you toss in the garbage when purging for unnecessary things. The brochures for paradise and utopia are made of plastic dreams thrown in the trash. Welcome back home. All of this is a story. You are the storyteller and the story itself. End of story. Why do we spend so many hours talking about this if it doesn't get us somewhere else to a better place? Because you are dead. There are no hours wasted. There is no one spending time. There is no somewhere else. There is no better place. This is it. This is death. Everything you are looking for is the end of the story, and this is the end of the story. This is death. Does anything happen in death? No. And yet, here it is. Everyone is afraid of it, but it is looking at them. It is them that is a story. And so are you. This is death, because all of the concepts and all of the ideas collide and collapse. It is so simple you don't need the words. You are looking for your own death, and here it is. Everything that you have ever looked for is here. It is this. When will I die? When will the me drop away? Well, it is here. Even the idea of dropping away is death. It doesn't mean anything. It is unknown. All of these ideas rising up and down like a zombie moving around, thinking it is getting somewhere. It is just this. This is the wordless. The death of words, the death of concepts, the death of meaning, the death of belief, the death of hope, the death of purpose. So what is left? Just this. Isn't it stunning? The death of ideas, the death of relationships, the death of suffering, the death of liberation, the death of expectation, the death of everything. Oh my goodness, yes, that is paradise. The death of death. Death of nothing. Whatever comes up unravels, whatever shows up leaves, whatever begins ends. But it is all endings and beginnings happening at the same time. What non-dualism is pointing out is the death of everything, and it is beautiful, because it is just stillness appearing as movement, silence appearing as sound, death appearing as life, peacefulness appearing as chaos. Unconditional liberation drowns everything that tries to swim in it. The I, the self, the me, the ego, the mind, the individual. Even the idea of the higher self or no self exist in the illusion of time. They are all conceptual. Without a personal identity, there is only the present directness. This very moment, there are appearances of what is happening. This direct openness is all that there is, and it is completely unknown. Time is a creation of the imagined self seeking purpose in its flow. Memories and future plans are fabricated into a convincing story, and the self believes it is moving through it. Can the self and time be found, or is everything just happening in the present directness? The energy of the apparent self is a mere occurrence, a construct without real substance. The past is like a thought. The future is a series of projections. Everything happens freely, beyond grasp, total freedom, not for someone, but for everything. In this cosmic play, the past is a fleeting thought, and the future is a series of projections. Everything unfolds freely in a total freedom that transcends personal identity. The dance of this apparent appearance continues. The self is just a passing note in the cosmic melody of what is. Hore. In the words that unfold here, there is no story of change or non-change. No journey of becoming, shedding of the self, dropping of the me, self-realization, or figuring out the true nature, as there is no one to do so. The idea of a self is like a mirage, lacking any real presence in time and space. Yet the mirage appears as the experiencer of reality moving through time and space. No individual me comes and goes. There is only this present infiniteness, unchanging and constant. Non-duality is not a tangible thing. Simply, it is beyond words. Simply, it is not two. The apparent self turns it into something graspable. But the suggestion is, nothing is really occurring. There is only this momentless moment, infinitely, and that is unthinkable. The efforts to define this unity result in stories in duplicity, attempts to capture the boundless within boundaries. There is only what is unfolding without any restriction. This happening or occurrence is an illusion. There is only the essence of an apparent existence. The fictional self tries to confine this freedom within narratives, but it is a futile effort. The dance of aliveness is a perpetual surrender, impossible to grasp, like trying to hold onto an empty space. Freedom is not a goal. It is the very nature of what is happening without any conditions. Everything is always changing. These words being uttered, the gentle play of light, the distant hum of sounds, the flickering images, the highs and lows of emotions, everything seems to materialize out of nowhere, only to vanish into the mysterious void. Life appears as a continuous flow of things slipping away. Yet, whenever visited, these moments present themselves anew, fresh and unfamiliar. Everything is constantly moving, but there is an inherent stillness in everything. The illusory self tries to control the illusory by the illusion. It tries to anchor and preserve what it cherishes: love, wealth, glimpses of the infinite. However, the stark obviousness is that everything remains elusive and ever-changing. It overlooks what has never moved: the dynamic stillness, the unfathomable, unknowable isness that is always present despite everything slipping away. What is being offered here is an open invitation, this directness, this radiant openness. And that's it, just this openness. In this intimacy, in this nakedness, in this moment where all these words seem to come and go, there is this openness that is unbreakable, limitless, boundless, unmovable, free of any description. In this quietude, in this serenity, everything may appear. Emotions, feelings, questions, thoughts, sensations. But what is being expressed here, where everything is allowed and nothing is denied, is this immovable peace that defies any comprehension. Everything may arise or not. What is seeking this is also this. What is seeing is also what is. What is talking is also what is. What is listening is also what is. It is just listening or just what is. Anything can arise. Doubts, confusion, clarity, misunderstanding, but nothing being said can fully grasp what this is. The unknowable, the unfathomable, that never moves, that never changes. The seeker's deepest fear is not the dread of death, but an apprehension about this radiant openness, this life as it is. It is the fear of the truly unknown quietude, the impersonal embrace of the raw and untamed wildness of this. To authentically be alive means this impersonal confrontation of what this is, both the pleasant and the unpleasant. It encompasses pain, sadness, fear, anger, confusion, delusion, everything. Everything. Everything, nothing is denied. The unknown is afraid to look at the unknown. The unfathomable is afraid to know it. But it cannot be known, and there is nothing that can be done, because it already is. Seeing what already is acknowledges that one cannot selectively shield oneself from the apparent waves of life. The preconceived notion of identity drops. In this super-directness, there is just sound coming out of nowhere. There is really no thought behind this, no one behind this. In the absence of ideas, in the absence of belief systems, what is talking right now and what is listening right now is not separate. There is no division whatsoever. What if every thought is a dream? What if it is all made up? The made-up words are trying to point out something that cannot be made up, hearing the silence between the words. The words coming out right now are appearing with silence. The absence is coming out with fullness. The emotions that come out from this are also empty. In this emptiness, there is seemingly a yearning to get what is, but nothing needs to be gotten, absolutely nothing, because what is being expressed is always present, constantly alive, awake, constantly this and not this. It cannot be caught by anyone's idea. What is being presented is someone's apprehension of something that cannot be comprehended. This unorganized freedom cannot be put in a box, cannot be labeled, cannot be fabricated for comfort. This radiant openness is in everything. It is the dissolution of self-imagined limitations, the demise of any preconceived notions about identity or no identity. It is not about getting somewhere. It is not about trying to understand something. The pursuit of this is pointless, might as well stop seeking, although there is no one choosing to seek or not seek. What is being presented here is a stop sign. There is really nothing to get because it already is. The shift in perception, that there is something missing, that there is something that needs to be dropped, is an illusion. In this quietude, in this infinite present, all logic and comprehension dissolve. There is a radiant emptiness where everything is allowed and nothing is denied. But what is always overlooked is what already is. The ordinary, unmistakable, undeniable emptiness that is in everything. Emptiness in the walls, emptiness in this voice, emptiness in the listener, emptiness in the thought. What seems to be hidden is often missed because it is appearing in everything. What is looking is what is being looked at. What is missing is appearing in everything. And that seems to be the conundrum in seeking. It already is. It goes in this cycle of I got this, I lost it, a never-ending happening. But stepping back from the madness of seeking, you see that it encompasses everything. It is in the pain, the sadness, the joy, walking the dog, spitting out spicy food, the rejection, the acceptance, the mundane, the ordinary. The utopian escape from the dualistic world, a realm free from pain and suffering, is an illusion based on dualistic ideas about identity. Reality is an illusion, but a persistent one. Identity is an illusion, a dream fabricated by the longing for comfort and security. That longing for peace always overlooks the peace that cannot be understood, that is already permanently here. In short, what is being expressed is the already what-is-ness of everything. Rejection, acceptance, pain, pleasure, hugs, the taste of everything. The seeking for something that already is like a neurosis trying to escape from something that is smack on aliveness. Escaping from that quietness misses out on the quietness that is always unbreakable. There is nothing wrong or right about thoughts coming and going. But when there is a grasping of something to be fixed, it goes into a rabbit hole of thinking, a positive or negative. The spiral of seeking misses that the positive and the negative are it. The utopian idea of what peace should be, if only the me drops, if only I get the love I want, is dissociation. The seeming problems that appear are also it, hiding or avoiding what is, longing for something to eliminate it. It ping-pongs back and forth, not seeing that any position, left or right, wrong or right, is always it. It can never be not it. It is really that simple. It is really that obvious, but not obvious as a point of view. This is an elimination of any hierarchies, any authority figure. The yearning for a void with no problems leads to suffering. Getting rid of sanity to avoid things coming up. Trusting someone who seems to have it. There is no one above or below. Is not even anyone outside of an idea. Others' ideas about this are just miscomprehension of something that cannot be understood, a rejection of something untamed and wild. The idea that enlightenment brings bliss or the absence of anger misses that anger is also it. The pursuit of heaven leads to the creation of hell. The pursuit of nirvana involves rejecting samsara, the binary mindset. Escaping the undesirable to embrace the desirable is a misguided strategy to ensure protection from death. So this is death, really. The death of all ideas, the death of any conclusions, the death of samsara, the death of nirvana. It is like standing at an infinite black hole and everything gets sucked in. Because all you really have is a bunch of thoughts, feelings, sensations, based on an identity that is a construct. The identity says, this is how I feel, this is what I hope for, not realizing that is just a thought coming from nowhere. All of the longing, all of the seeking is already dead. It is just what it is, no matter what it is. The seeking for something that already is just another merry-go-round in the insane belief that something could happen when it is already the case. When this authentic appearance, this freshness, this glorious emptiness appears as whatever this is, it is not about numbing the complexities of life. It is not about avoiding vulnerability, because in this radiant openness, everything is allowed. The struggle, the feeling of hopelessness, is also it. Everything appears as everything already. The whole construct of spirituality is an industry built on getting something. This is pulling the carpet under the entire non-duality industry too. There is nothing to get. There is nothing to know. It already is. It misses the wild innocence of just walking in the park, petting your dog, feeling emotions. Emotions are part of the directness. There is no one behind them. There is just this eloquent mystery, a poetic nothingness, a wow. A wow I cannot even say. The empty space expressing it, the screen expressing it, everything expressed wonderfully, directly as it is. We get caught up trying to figure out what this is, when what this is also what is trying to figure it out. What is trying to figure this out is already what is. There is no division from that. The wondrousness is that it cannot be figured out because it already is. It all morphs constantly. Supreme clarity morphs into this can't be it, and then insecurity drives the search for intoxication. A teacher, a drug, a practice. It is intoxication. This open invitation is to see through any kind of intoxication, even the intoxication with this very reading. There is nothing that needs to be known because it already is. When someone is on a pedestal, they will not leave it because it is a position. This is the destruction of any notion that someone got it. How can it be expressed that there is simply wholeness, and one part of wholeness knows more than another? It doesn't make sense. The speaker shakes up the whole thing, refusing to let anything stick, gladly showing the exit sign. This liberation is the wildness of not even listening to this anymore. Just listen for the entertainment of it. No one can give you anything. But here, there is sincerity that there is nothing to get. No one knows. With all sincerity, no one knows. Everything is unknowable, and nothing is known. What seems to be obvious, not from knowing, is that there is an all-encompassing, constant presence that often goes unnoticed, an unnameable, ever-present completeness that transcends the dualistic world of thought and the cycle of birth and death. This completeness is sought by the individual but never attained. It is a home that eludes notice amidst the distractions of seeking future completeness. Awakening, enlightenment, the dropping of the me. In the relentless pursuit of avoiding discomfort and striving for a future completeness, the present completeness is overlooked, always overlooked. It is like overlooking the white pages when reading the words. It is ever changing, never changing. It is always this completeness. The seeker is already home, since there is no seeker. This open space is the culmination of the journey. This is it. It is what it seeks. What is seeking what is. It can only be found in this present completeness, not a future completeness. Seeking reality, seeking the relief of a contraction, is looking for future relief of something that already is. The pain appearing is it. The discomfort is it. The rejection is it. There is nothing that is not it. Yet a carrot is dangled that something will happen next time. There is a judgment. There is still a me there. You need to abide in awareness. Conceptualizing what already is a misnomer, because it already is. This is not a solution, because it does not need a solution. It is a direct seeing of what is. The non-denying, the non-bypassing, the sobriety that what is seeking is already it. When it is seen that it is just an appearance with no reality to it, there is no holding on. There is a relaxation that okay, that is also it. Freedom appearing as various appearances of freedom. Freedom to say no, freedom to reject. Unconditional freedom. You cannot organize freedom because there is no one to organize it. It is chaos. It is anarchy. It is beautiful. It is what it is, no matter what it is. And there is no one that knows this. Trying to know the unknowable creates a loop of suffering, trying to figure out what is already unfigured. This open embrace is impersonal to what cannot be controlled. This completeness, this wholeness, whatever it is grand. It is wow. It is boom. How could this be happening? How are there words and separation when there is just wholeness that has never been separated? How is there movement when this is stillness? That does not need to be answered. It is an awe of something seeing itself as it is, without any ideas, the absence of all veils of knowing. It is really ordinary. but the ordinary is so stunning that there is no more sense of a self. The vastness, the profound completeness appears in everything. Nothing is excluded. Everything is it. It is what it seeks, and this is it. The ceaseless, neurotic quest for something elusive, something out there for the future character, is a paranoia, a construct of the character to maintain the character. Since there is already no character, what appears is a neurosis that something is missing. But nothing is missing. Everything is already as it is. There is a desperate seeking for nothing, but nothing is seeking nothing, overlooking that it is already nothing. The desire to lose desire is still a desire. It will just keep going and going. But there is no one behind any of this. Turtles all the way down. Simply what is already. It is the meaning of something fundamental without any opposite. Simply not two. A sourceless recognition of the essence of this appearance in itself. What is takes the form of a person, a character, sitting in a chair, reading these words. It also takes the form of the ground, the walls, the breath, the heartbeat, the taste in the mouth, the colors, the sense. What is embodies everything transpiring, absolutely everything, and also nothing at all. The dilemma is trying to figure out what is being said, trying to comprehend the incomprehensible. This is not gatekeeping. It is simply what is. It cannot be understood. There is a running around in words. But all these words are already empty, without any meaning or purpose, because it already is. Nothing said here can change what is. Nothing you can do can make this clearer, because it is already completely what it is. This remarkable aliveness is not hidden. It is not a construct, an idea, or a concept. It is simply appearing as it is. And at the same time, it is not appearing, because appearance is subjective. There is no one behind anything. Any perspective, any idea, any comprehension seems to hide what is. The moment there is a thinking, a processing of something that does not need to be processed, there seems to be a veiling of what can never be hidden. It triggers the neurotic seeking that there must be something missing, something hidden. But nothing is hidden. It is already out in the open. It is raw, unaltered, unchangeable. It is what it is, no matter what it is. If one were to hide but wanted to ensure they were found, the smartest strategy would be to transform into everything that is. What seems to be missed is missed because it is in everything. It is in every thought, feeling, sensation, heartbeat, pixel, neuron, atom. It is glaringly obvious. It is all-encompassing. This is not a trick. This is not a drill. It already is. There is a desperate seeking of nothing, and nothing keeps seemingly being hidden, but nothing is hidden. This cannot be grasped intellectually. If it were that easy, you would merely be an individual with an abstract idea of non-duality. This cannot be conceptualized. It appears in the thinking, though there is no one thinking. It appears in the speaking, though there is no one speaking. It appears in the hearing, though there is no one hearing. This is an immersion into the wondrous mystery of what is. Not a doing, but a curiousness. An immersion into the incomprehensible. The goose flying south, honking along the way. The trees rustling. The wetness of the grass. It is not about knowing. Those are just labels. It cannot even be spoken about, because it is what it is to an observer, although there is no observer. Just beauty or madness that appears. It is in the beauty and the madness, the silence and the sound, the longing and the contentment. This plunge into the realm of not knowing, the innocence of it all, the ignorance of bliss. In that dive, the seeker ceases to exist. Poof, boom, desperately seeking nothing when it is already nothing. The inexpressible wholeness that everything is fathomless. In the absence of it all, in this directness, it does not require any processing. This completeness in the visible and the invisible, the divisible and the indivisible. The seeming play of opposites, but there are really no opposites. Everything is simply this. This cannot be separated, even if it appears as separate. It is unmeasurable, yet shallow when attempted to be understood. There is no right or wrong. Both are equally the opposite of what cannot be this or that. Simply this or no this is the unfathomable. The unknowableness cannot be claimed by anyone. Just as anarchy does not have a leader, freedom does not have an owner, peace cannot be claimed as my peace or your peace. It is just peace. It is already peace. Gatekeeping this unwavering peace is like waging a war with peace. Peace is peace, no matter what it is. It does not have a definition. It is not an understanding or a misunderstanding. It does not have an opposite. The word peace is just a placeholder for something that cannot be held or placed. All of this talk is empty. What is listening is empty, just like peace. What is cannot be thought, since what is not a thought. It is unthinkable. Peace is unthinkable. There is no guru, no teacher, no speaker that can teach you this peace, because what is unthinkable and unteachable is this peace that is beyond understanding. Unfathomable, unfigure-outable, undisputable, undeniable peace. There is no gatekeeping a secret when everything is already out in the open. The it is already it. Even not it is also it. No one has got it. No one gets this. The unknowable cannot know the unknowable. There is already not two. No one can get this wrong, just equally as no one has got this right, since right and wrong are just empty words. Seeking is a war with words, with thoughts, when simply there is only peace. War is over. War is over. This aimlessness should not be misconstrued as rendering everything devoid of significance. Significance or non-significance appears as what is. Non-duality does not intend to draw attention to any particular object or concept. It serves as a pointer, pointing directly at the illusory nature of feeling like a separate character, a mirage where reality masquerades as non-reality. The seeker is inherently driven to apprehend something concrete, something solid, something graspable. It transforms any description into an object, a precious jewel, as it perpetually hungers for substance. The notion of this, or no thing, or what is, remains beyond the seeker's conceptual faculties. Even the concept of nothing fails to capture its essence. It encompasses ordinary apparent experiences. Sitting in a chair, reading a screen, eating popcorn, lying on a bed, analyzing, criticizing, feeling, sipping a beverage. Whatever unfolds constitutes the entirety of this ness. There is no entity behind this. There is no being. There is nothing substantial being talked about. It is just sitting in a chair in profound free fullness. The possibility exists that the seeker may cease to be. This apparent demise is neither death nor annihilation. It simply cannot be explained or grasped. What is seems to fall or disappear, but it is still what is. It does not constitute any change. You cannot become closer to this, because this is already this. This is always this, no matter what seems to appear. This inherent aliveness can present itself as separate, as fragmented, yet it remains undivided. Emptiness, wholeness. There is no observer behind those eyes, no entity reading these words. Within the act of seeing and hearing, there is a semblance that somebody may arise, but it is purely a product of imagination and appearance. It is already whole and complete, yet the seeker quests for wholeness and completeness when it already is. A paradoxical irony. It strips away all constructs, revealing that nothing truly perishes because nothing was ever born. The emergence of what this is, outside the constraints of time, seemingly gives birth to the concept of time, but there is no time. There is no you. Simply, to go even more direct, it is just this and not this, and it cannot be thought about. It is boundlessness, free-falling, infinitely new, wondrously fresh. Always this. Even when it's not this, it's always this. You ask about the me. The me, the character, the self, the no-self, first and foremost, is an illusion that feels undeniably real. That is why it is a perfect illusion. It is not the real you, not your true self, since there is no self, and not even a no-self to know the true you. An illusion creates another illusion to create a circular, looping illusion. Let's just be direct. There are no opposites. Higher self, lower self, no self, neither. The appearance of what is masquerades as an identity, a separate individual, a felt sense of separation, using all sorts of deceptive tactics because it is already it. The gig is up. Pretending to be seeking, witnessing, being aware, dropping away, is just what is. It is already the case. There is nothing wrong or right about it. Even if there is a feeling that something is wrong, that is also what is. There is no witness. There is no observer. There is a felt sense of separation, an illusory idea. A child walking around does not know separation. It has not processed it yet. It is just what is. Innocence at play in duality. When everything seemingly unravels, when everything dissolves into the emptiness that there was no solidity in the first place, it loses all relevance and significance. What is, paradoxically, has the remarkable appearance to take any form. It can appear as you others, the moon, a walk on the beach, a complex symphony, war, disaster, a toothache. It is always what is. Unbeknownst to the illusory me, it is all one and the same, and also none. The sense of self perpetually seeks certainty, a final destination, a goal. How do I lose the me? How do I get rid of this obstacle? But that is also what is. When I get this, everything will be okay. It searches for certainty within these words. But without the sense of self, what remains is an exhilarating lack of certainty. I don't know what this is. There is no separation. It is just a big, uncertain wow. This curiosity, this nothing has been separate from whatever that cannot be thought about. Constantly, consistently this, the nameless, the wordless. The me is also that, but there is also no me. So there is just this inexplicable freefall. There is no ground to land on. There is no path to follow. Nothing leads toward the illusion of certainty. It hunts for experiences to gauge its progress, yet this is a fallacy because nothing ever moves. Nothing ever completes for the me. There is only this. It is a complete stripping away of that security blanket. And sometimes, when there is a glimpse that this is unknowable, the sense of self returns with a vengeance. It clings to the familiar, the illusion of time. It can only exist in time. Without time, there are no ideas, no thoughts. So this reading is not even happening. It seems to be going on, but it is not being heard because there is no next moment. This is the infinite, eternal what is that cannot be captured as a segment, a moment, or an idea. It defies every logic, every description. It is utterly impersonal. There is nothing you or I can capture. It appears in everything. No one gains or loses anything because it is already the case. You never lost your me because there was never a me, and there is no you. It was a complete illusion that there was a life with a beginning and an end, the obliteration of time as a tangible reality. Time seems to unfold, but there is no substance to it. Like a vivid dream at night, a timeline that seems long, but upon awaking, time did not exist. Everything in it, including the me, was just what is appearing as a dream. No one wakes from a dream and says, I need to get rid of the me in that dream. Time seems to unfold, but there is no time, no substance. It is simultaneously real and unreal. Real because it is actual, unreal because it is merely apparent and fleeting. Nothing remains fixed, yet nothing truly moves. Nothing has ever happened. The apparent character believing itself to be real. Where is this thing everyone is looking for? Have you found it? It is always in what isn't there. Investing in trying to figure out the me, trying to get rid of it, is unbelievably futile. Nothing will be gained or lost because it is already what is. This unchangingness quietly resides in everything. An inherent stillness, unmoved, crafting the illusion of this ceaseless dance. A movement between non-being and being, an eternal silence echoing through the guise of sounds, taking on labels like wholeness, aliveness, emptiness, but always infinitely unknowable. These words are fleeting attempts to capture the unspeakable. They become duplicitous fragments, duality appearing in non-duality, weighty terms like absolute, nothing, consciousness, aiming to describe the ineffable, transforming into subjective fragments of questionable understanding. The unknowable, once given a name, succumbs to the limitations of language. There is an ecstasy in the void of unknowing. The dance continues as a play of words, fragmenting the unbroken, yet still capturing the essence of the ineffable. It cannot be spoken, yet it appears in words. All anyone really has to say is just a thought about what cannot be talked about. What is not a thought, but it seemingly appears as a thought. In this realm of appearance, where thoughts seem to weave a tapestry, a question unfolds. What is a thought without a thought? What is a thoughtless thought? What is the essence that it holds? Why so much seeking in thoughts? Are they just a constant companion in the illusion of time? Thoughts are just appearances, possessing the power to birth grandiose inventions, refinements, science. Yet in the quiet hours of the night, they keep someone awake. What am I missing? When is it going to drop? Am I not good enough? These reflections are just the faculty of a thought. A thought is just a thought, maintained by a thought to keep up a thought. What is speaking without a thought? What are you looking at without a thought? What is a thought without a thought? It is really simple. It goes into dogmatic arguments about right and wrong, but what if all thoughts are just irrelevant appearances of what is? Just appearing as what is, not conceptualizing it, not figuring it out. A thought is just a series of words appearing out of nowhere, booming in and out of something that has no existence. Trying to maintain a thought is the seeking of thoughts. It tries to avoid what is being overlooked constantly. The delicious directness of this that cannot be said in words. The overwhelming clarity that does not need words. This awakeness that cannot be thought about, constantly obscured by a fog of thoughts. This razor-sharp, indescribable love cuts through all the words and thoughts into clarity. The emptiness of these words, searching for a truth, is just another thought. It overlooks the thoughtless thought. It overlooks this radical appearance that does not have a second, this overwhelming freedom that cannot be captured in words. It is simply appearing as what is, and what is cannot be thought about. The framework of an individual is a concept, a bunch of thoughts bundled together. When that mist goes at night in deep sleep, there is no thought about who you are. Without a thought, there is no you. Without a thought, there is no time, just the absence. But it is not about letting go of thoughts, because that is another thought. It is not about quieting or silencing. When a glimpse happens in this thoughtless wonder, the mind captures it in a thought, puts it in memory, and compares it to this. But this is incomparable. Every moment is infinite newness, infinite freshness. So direct it is slapping you. This awakeness does not require words to encourage anyone. It is not about acceptance or rejection. It is simply this immediacy that does not have a second, this intimacy that cannot be expressed, this delicious, wild thoughtlessness expressed in thoughts. There is silence in the thought. Thoughts are silent. Thoughts are irrelevant. When the possible and impossible collide, the thoughts vanish. What is being expressed here is irrelevant, because without any thoughts, it already is. This narrative weaves the tale of both being and non-being, of embodying someone and being no one simultaneously. Paradoxically, these appearances are threads in the grand tapestry painted on the canvas of the infinite, a masterpiece that no one knows what it is. No entity ebbs and flows. Only the infinite now persists, and everything is encompassed within its embrace. Non-duality, an essence beyond definition, is distorted by the egoic appearance into a tangible object to be attained. Yet nothing unfolds. There is only this. The me strives to confine the unconfined, to encapsulate the boundless within the finite, a futile endeavor. This dance of appearances cascades in absolute free fall, a perpetual surrender. Attempting to grasp, it is akin to reaching for the intangible, like trying to clasp the emptiness of space. There lies a belief so potent it seems to orchestrate the character's essence, an underground belief of beliefs. It believes it can grasp it, attain it, figure it out. This phantom fantasy drives the seeking that there is a next, that there is time, that magic words will erupt into ecstasy. But what is being expressed here is not a belief system. It is just what is. This unicity is so complete, so whole, that it includes separation. What is missing is a part of everything. Nothing really is missing outside of a belief that there is something missing. The belief that one day it will happen is just a belief woven into conditioning. All words come and go. Unbelievable, because what appears is so direct, so naked, it appears in everything, yet cannot be fragmented into a belief. When all beliefs no longer matter, when words rise and fall like ashes, when thoughts come and go like clouds, there is a clarity beyond description, a clarity that does not require an individual or an idea. It does not need a belief, because it is so clear without a belief. The silence is so loud that even the words come and go. In the quiet solitude of an empty home, where there is the absence of the individual or thoughts, there exists a profound paradox, a perpetual glow that defies the norms of light and darkness. An undying radiance persists, a light that is not two, a light that is unknowable, illuminating the very essence of what is. It transcends illumination. It is in everything, ever-changing, unchanging. It eludes definition, not bound by day or night. It radiates as an embodiment of everything conceivable. The silent witness to the eons, the untraceable nonentity that defies cause and effect. Simultaneously, the origin and the culmination. Its boundless brilliance beckons everything back to its cosmic home, even though nothing ever departs from this eternal abode. The light is infinitely on, but there is no one home. It indulges in a perpetual serenade, a song resounding through the vastness, an ode to its own ineffable nothingness, a melody celebrating its inherent luminosity, a cosmic secret, an intimate expression of its own existence. It revels in the joy of expression. It appears in sadness, gladness, everything in between, a dance of photons, particles, energy manifesting as an otherworldly spectacle. The light is both the warp and the weft, intertwining disparate elements into a harmonious whole, an everlasting flame that burns undiminished, the alpha and omega. In the quiet emptiness of a home devoid of the individual, the light persists. A light that never goes out, It is the hope in the hopelessness, the goldenness in the darkness. It is everywhere, not as a vision, not as a perception, but amidst all the struggles, all the seeking. There is a lightness that appears in everything, a peace with whatever seems to appear. There is no switch to it. It cannot be snuffed out. Even in the darkest and most difficult situations, it is there. The love in sharing something that cannot be shared, the directness in this openness. Fantastic words pop in and out like quarks in an empty universe, sounds reverberating without origin or meaning, echoes of silence, falling in love with the love that can never be known. It is wild. It is never about what is being said here, but what can never be said. Everything springs from this radiant, ineffable love that is empty, nameless. Attempting to name, it suggests a separation from this unknowable vastness. Is using words fitting for something so limitless? No. Ineffable love blends with everything perceived. Sights, sounds, sensations, feelings, sadness, gladness, everythingness. It is not an observer, it is part of everything that comes into being, yet there is no subject or object. This love will sweep you off your feet. It will leave you speechless. You will never see it coming, and it has nothing to do with you. It is all over your face, in the glimmer of your eyes, in the blood that rushes to your cheeks. It is blind, deaf, and mute. It is in every sigh of disappointment, every high and goodbye, the infatuation, the heartbreak, the hopelessness of longing, the wild loop of desires. Everyone looks for it. It can never be found. People think they find it only to lose it devastatingly. It has 1,000 names: unconditional love, enlightenment, twin flames, financial freedom, pure bliss, the dropping of the me. It is perpetually empty, a light that never flickers. No center, no source, no boundaries, no location. Not an entity, not higher or lower, no beginning, no end, beyond time and comprehension. The dream lover looks for love, overlooking that the unreal love is seeking for love by dreaming about it. The perfectly rejected love that has no name, in quietude, in directness, in stillness, in the absence of thoughts. This love is always this, but it thinks it has a choice. Ineffable love is looking for love and thinks it is not love. It is always a present, a gift, constantly rejected and overlooked. Looking for love, but not seeing love as it is. It is in this directness, this pointlessness, this sharpness without a second, exploding and floating simultaneously. This is paradise, not as an idea, but the mind-blowing suggestion that the seeker longing for paradise is none other than paradise appearing as lost. Paradise is seeking for paradise, deluded as an individual looking in concepts, geography, time, overlooking what already is, the gaze fixed on an elusive future. But this is paradise. No need to welcome you, because paradise is paradise. The character trapped in the pursuit of answers, asking questions, striving to distinguish themselves from paradise. The unconceptual paradise is looking in concepts. The mind, driven by the desire for continuity, poses questions like a bridge to the future, a declaration that I am a me. But that is not reality. There is no reality. Seeking characters have gathered answers, bookshelves brimming with wisdom, heavy tool belts to heal imaginary divisions. But the answers remain elusive. To embrace them would mean the dissolution of questions and answers. Who is the questioner but a tapestry of conditioning? Relinquishing questions and answers equates to letting go of identity. The relentless quest endures. One day it will happen. One day liberation will be achieved. One day paradise will be found. But why postpone? Why not see it now? Although there is nothing to see, because it is just paradise looking at paradise, what answers can await discovery? Perhaps the futility of ceaseless seeking will become apparent, and on that day, laughter will erupt at the absurdity. Paradise is not for someone, because there is no one in paradise. It doesn't have to be an aha moment, because there are no moments. It is already seen, but not by you. What is looking at paradise is paradise looking at itself. Even amid relentless questioning, it persists as paradise. It encompasses everything without exception. Paradise is always paradise, no matter what you think of it. It is just paradise appearing as it is. Are questions really unnecessary since everything is already what is? You can say it is just what is appearing as a question trying to figure out what is. There is really no one asking the question, no one answering. It is just an elaborate play appearing as duality, as you and I, as a speaker. But the speaker is completely irrelevant. Why does it seem so difficult to understand? Because you are trying to figure out what already is, when there is nothing to figure out. It is the absence of any ideas, the absence of any understanding. You are a complete novice, weirdly attracted to this. Welcome. The longing for answers does not have any answers because it already is what it is. Non-duality is simply the expression that there is not two, no separate individuals, no seeker, no speaker. No others, no time, no reality, no one to awaken, no one to enlighten. Everything is already what is. Why say everything is nothing? It doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. The collapse of all knowing is just this undeniable freedom. Not from me, not from ideas. It is everything and nothing simultaneously, but no one can perceive that. It cannot be figured out. It is simply what is. What is what is, undeniably, indubitably. Laughter, what is ing? Crying, what is ing? Talking, what is ing? Nothing is separate from what is. It is the enigma of what is, an inexplicable essence that eludes recognition. A dance of contradictions, opposites coalescing in a harmonious illusion. A leap in perception may occur, a glimpse of the innate clarity that everything is already what is. It is an autonomous what is ing that does not require comprehension. Seeking is purposeless, because there is no point seeking what already is. But seeking also is what is. Nothing is excluded. Experiences unfold as intricate illusions, compelling a reality that is true and false, but really just what is. The wow-ness, the boom-ness to everything that appears, not appearing for anyone. What is in everything. What is appearing as eyes looking at eyes, but there are no eyes, just what is seeing what is. It does not require any kind of knowing. Knowing may appear as what is, and that is allowed. It is often overlooked because there is a knowing of what it should be. Ideas arising out of nowhere with no source. No going to or from, no becoming, just what is appearing as whatever it is. The vastness, the boundlessness of what seemingly appears is indubitably what is already. It does not require anyone to get it. This silent what is can appear as a bombastic sound or a deafening silence that tramples everything thought of. It can appear as thoughts, but no one knows what this is. No one holds the key. No one can gatekeep. No one can hide what is. No one can grab what is. It is madness trying to figure out what is being said here. Pointless. But it can also appear as a pointer to something that is already clearly what is. The seriousness comes out when it is just innocently what it is. And that's it basically. It is already what is. There are no words that can express this. Yet here it is, appearing as words to state the obvious that nothing is needed. It is over. Done. It never even started. It has always been this way. Unutterable freedom. Silence. The desperate diver is swimming through the vast ocean of unconditional love to hear the waves of empty words crashing through other made-up, hollow words. To hear again and again that there is no separation, that nothing is needed. Simply not two without an opposite. Surprisingly and predictably, the seeker of pearls of emptiness holds onto these jewels like a buoy to save itself from its inevitable demise. Exhaustion. The last word, even the unshakable belief of that last hope, the sinking feeling. One last attempt to stay afloat, drowning indefinitely and infinitely, laughing and choking at words, death. In the end, nothing really happened. All the stories sink. All the exhausted words vanish like echoes of silence. Beliefs burst like tiny bubbles. Everything that is ever known is spiraling down to the bottomless pit of this unknowable stillness. Even this speaker is useless, an apparition, a mirage. A dealer of silence who can only supply in words. Nevertheless, the words are deadly when revealed as impotent and counterfeit. The junkie dies along with all the lies that used to get it high. Nothing was heard because nothing has ever been said. Just waves crashing back and forth in deathly silence. Peace, resting in peace, on peace, just this. Just this radiant, open, unfigure-outable this. Let the words completely dissolve now. Let the sentences break apart into letters, into pixels, into light, into nothing. Notice the space around the screen. Notice the hum in the room. Notice the breathing. Notice that no one is doing the breathing. The breathing is just breathing. The seeing is just seeing. The reading is just reading. There is no center to any of it. There is no one inside the head operating the machinery. There is just an open, vast, panoramic sphere of sensing, feeling, vibrating, appearing and disappearing. The thoughts about this text are just more vibrating appearances. The frustration of not understanding is just a vibrating appearance. The profound sense of peace is just a vibrating appearance. None of it belongs to you, because the you is just another vibrating appearance. When you look at a wall, there is just the seeing of the wall. There is no seer standing apart from the wall. The seer and the seen are one single occurrence of seeing. When a sound happens, there is no hearer inside a box receiving the sound. There is only the sheer, naked occurrence of hearing. This is the collapse of distance. This is the collapse of time. There is no past where you were a seeker. There is no future where you become enlightened. There is only this absolute, immediate, overwhelming now. Ness, that isn't even a moment, because a moment implies a timeline, and there is no timeline. Just a static, dynamic, pulsing, silent, roaring is. It is the light that never goes out. It is the peace that passes all understanding. It is the end of the story. You can close the book now. You can drop the spiritual search. You can let the heavy backpack of concepts slide off your shoulders. You don't have to carry the universe anymore. The universe is carrying itself perfectly. You don't have to monitor your progress. There is no progress. You don't have to fix your mind. The mind is a phantom. You don't have to practice unconditional love. You are the unconditional love that is drowning the entire world. Rest here. Not as a person resting, but as the resting itself, the deep sleep that is wide awake, the nothingness that dances as everything, full stop. Wow.